Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, if you've ever taken the IELTS listening test, or even just thought about it, you probably know that feeling, right? The audio seems way too fast, the accents keep changing. It can feel pretty overwhelming. So today, we're really going to tackle that. We're digging into how to master this section, cut through the stress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
It feels like just an information task, but honestly, it's testing your psychology too.
Yeah.
We've looked at a whole stack of stuff, prep guides, linguistic takes,
Right.
and the goal here is pretty straightforward. Give you actionable, step-by-step ways to, well, stop losing marks unnecessarily and maybe walk in feeling a bit more confident.
Okay, good. So let's start with the basics, the layout.
Yeah.
You can't really beat the test if you don't know the rules of the game, so to speak. IELTS listening. It's 4 parts, 40 questions. But it's not flat, is it? There's a difficulty curve.
Exactly. People often call it the escalator of difficulty. You start off, relatively gently, part one. There's usually a two-person chat about something every day.
Like booking something.
Right. Yeah, booking a ticket, asking for hotel info, maybe renting an apartment, basic stuff.
Yeah.
It's meant to ease you in, build a little confidence. Honestly, this is where you want to scoop up as many marks as possible.
Makes sense. A warm-up. But I guess it also plants those little traps early on, like numbers and spellings.
Oh, definitely. We'll get back to those. Then you step up to part two. The context shifts. Now it's usually one person talking a monologue.
Like a tour guide?
Could be. A museum guide, someone giving instructions, maybe a short announcement. The vocabulary gets a bit broader, but it's still pretty contained.
And then things start getting, well, more academic.
They do. Part three, this is often where people feel the pressure jump. It's a conversation again, but maybe 2, 3, sometimes 4 people, usually students, maybe a tutor, talking about coursework.
Ah, okay. So multiple voices, more complex ideas.
Exactly. You're tracking who's saying what, dealing with more abstract concepts. It just takes more brain power,
Which brings us to the top floor, part 4. The summit, as you called it.
Yeah. Part 4 is the straight-up academic lecture. One speaker, long monologue, packed with dense, sometimes technical language. It could be environment, technology, history, and crucially, no pauses within the section.
Wow. Okay. So knowing that's coming last helps you sort of budget your focus.
Precisely. You brace yourself for that final, most demanding stretch.
Okay. Understanding the structure helps manage energy. But
Yeah.
what about just building the stamina? The sources talk about listening like it's a muscle. How do we train it?
That's a great analogy. And the core idea is consistency, not necessarily intensity.
Yeah.
You don't need to sit there for 4 hours straight listening. That's just burnout territory.
Right.
20, maybe 30 minutes a day of focused listening. That makes a much bigger difference over time than one huge session once a week. You're building up that auditory endurance.
I hear people say, oh, just watch movies. But you mentioned cartoons earlier. That seems almost too simple for IELTS prep. Why cartoons?
It's a fair question,
Yeah.
but think about it. Cartoons or even simpler kids shows or podcasts, they often have really clear, deliberate pronunciation.
Oh, okay.
For learners, especially early on, it's not just about understanding the meaning, it's about catching the individual sounds, the phonemes. If your ear isn't tuned to clear speech, then fast, natural, reduced speech in a lecture, it just sounds like noise. Simple stuff builds that foundation.
So simple content tunes the ear. Complex content builds the stamina. What about listening while doing other things? Cooking, walking. Is that actually useful?
Yeah, it can be, definitely, as long as you're not trying to take detailed notes at the same time.
Okay.
The point of that background listening is more about getting your brain used to the natural rhythm, the intonation, the sort of music of English. You're not actively memorizing facts, you're absorbing the flow. It makes focused listening feel less intense later.
Okay, this brings us smack into a big hurdle. Accents. The test isn't just, say, standard British or American. You could get Australian, Canadian, maybe a mix.
That's a huge factor. If you only ever listen to one accent, hearing a new one suddenly on test day really throws you off. Your brain has to work harder.
So exposure is key.
Critical. Think about a simple word like water. American might say water, a British speaker water, an Australian maybe wada. If you only know one, the others might just fly past you and you miss the whole point.
So what's the strategy? Just randomly listen to different things?
Be intentional about it. Maybe dedicate each week to a different accent. One week, focused on BBC news clips for British English. The next, find an Australian podcast or a Canadian documentary.
Do you need to try and copy the accent?
Not necessarily perfectly imitate, no. But actively listen for the differences. Notice the vowel sounds, the rhythm, the way they link words. That awareness is the training.
Okay, and this leads us to those specific little traps test makers love. Things that sound similar. Numbers are a classic 15 versus 50. Why is that so common?
It's about the stress pattern, really. The teen numbers, 13 through 19, they usually have the stress on the end,
Yeah.
15, 16.
Right.
But the 10s, 30, 40, 50, the stress is usually on the first syllable,
Mm-hmm.
3, 8, 30, 50. And that second syllable often gets reduced.
Ah, I see.
So when someone's talking fast or maybe their voice drops a bit, that key difference can get really blurred. Practicing saying them, listening for them, emphasizing that stress difference, it's essential.
That's a great insight. It's not just similar sounds, it's a predictable pattern they exploit. Another one, car park versus carpet.
Oh, yeah. Especially with certain accents, they can sound incredibly close. Car park usually has a bit more separation, clearer vowels. Carpet can sound more blended, quicker.
And they'll put them as options right next to each other.
Absolutely. They know if you're slightly panicked, your brain just grabs the first sound that seems familiar. It's a common tripwire.
Okay, shifting gears from prep to the actual test day. The audio's about to play. Get a little time beforehand. What's the absolute first thing you must do?
Read the questions quickly and underline keywords.
Why is underlining so vital?
It's your map. It primes your brain. By underlining key info names, dates, places, maybe quantity words like only or maximum, you tell your brain what specific information to hunt for. You're not just listening vaguely. You're listening with purpose.
And that's important because they don't just spoon feed you the exact words from the question, right? They use synonyms, rephrasing.
Constantly.
Yeah.
It's a core part of the test design. They test if you understand the meaning, not just if you can match exact words.
Can you give us an example of that?
Sure. Let's say the question is, what day is the appointment? The audio might have someone saying, well, she was hoping for Monday, but that was booked. The doctor suggested Wednesday would work better.
Ah, so the answer isn't the first day mentioned.
Exactly. The answer is Wednesday. You have to follow the little conversational turn. If you just latched on to Monday, you'd get it wrong. They expect you to track changes and confirmations. Or synonyms, the question might say, recommended exercise, but the audio says the doctor suggested taking up swimming. You need to connect suggested to recommended.
So you're hunting for the function, the meaning, not just the identical phrase.
That's it, precisely. And while you're doing all this listening and connecting, you have to write things down. Which brings us to, what you call the saddest way to lose marks.
Spelling and numbers. Ugh. It's painful to think about getting the answer right, but losing the point because you wrote February or missed an S.
It really is. And this isn't about fancy vocabulary. It's about the basics. You absolutely have to practice spelling common things. Days of the week, months, countries, typical English names like Johnson or Smith.
And numbers again?
Numbers again. Not just 1550, but writing down phone numbers accurately or addresses with house numbers and postcodes. Part 1 is full of these. Hearing OW2 space 7PQ and writing it correctly under pressure takes practice.
Okay, let's talk about some more advanced techniques. The sources mention something called shadowing. Sounds a bit mysterious. What is it?
It's actually really powerful. Shadowing means you listen to a recording of a native speaker and you repeat what they're saying, almost simultaneously, like their shadow or echo. You try to match their speed, their rhythm, their intonation.
Wow, okay. That sounds intense. What's the main benefit?
It's kind of neurological. It forces your brain's listening and speaking circuits to work together much more tightly. You're almost bypassing that step of translating it in your head. You're training your brain to process the sounds of English directly into speech. It improves your recognition speed and your own pronunciation, too.
So you're not just hearing it, you're kind of feeling the sounds physically.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. And speaking of speed, let's talk notes. Especially in that long Part 4 lecture, you cannot possibly write full sentences.
Right. The rule is keep it short, use abbreviations.
Absolutely. Speed is everything. So if the lecture says, research conducted primarily in New Zealand indicated that the majority of primary school teachers expressed concern about ongoing environmental degradation. You can't write all that.
No way.
You jot down maybe NZ res, primtiques enve concern. Or even shorter symbols if you have them. Just the core concepts. You have to trust your short-term memory to fill the gaps when you transfer answers later.
And that transfer time is key, right? Remind us what that's for.
Yeah, so in the paper-based test, you get 10 minutes at the very end specifically to copy your answers from the question paper onto the official answer sheet. That's your chance to tidy up those messy notes, check your spelling carefully, make sure you followed word limits.
Crucial for avoiding those silly mistakes.
Exactly. Now, if you're doing the computer-delivered test, the timing might be slightly different, maybe shorter, integrated as you go, so know your format. But the principle is the same. You need time to review and finalize.
Okay, one last big thing. Panic. It happens. You're in part 4, the speaker's going fast, you definitely just missed an answer. What do? What's the absolute rule?
Let it go instantly. The second you realize you missed one, you must force your attention immediately to the next question, the current audio.
Don't dwell on it.
Don't dwell. If you spend even 5 seconds mentally kicking yourself about the answer you missed, the audio has moved on. And now you've probably missed the next 2 answers as well. Make a quick mark by the missed question number, maybe circle it lightly. Plan to guess later during transfer time, but get back into the flow now.
That focus really is key. Like the sources say, a nervous brain hears nothing. A relaxed brain hears everything. Or at least hears more.
It's about managing that anxiety. Remind yourself, I've practiced. I know the format. I know the difficulty increases.
Yeah.
If you've put in the consistent daily work, you've earned the right to feel capable.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the main takeaways for everyone listening. Daily listening practice is key, like building a muscle. Mix up the accents you listen to every week.
Definitely.
Before the audio starts, always read the questions and underline those keywords. Drill yourself on spelling common words, days, months, and those tricky similar numbers.
And practice addresses and phone numbers.
Right. Consider trying the shadowing technique to really tune your ear and brain. And if you miss something on the day,
Let it go immediately. Stay calm. Stay focused on the next question. Don't let one missed point cascade into 3 or 4.
it really does sound like systematic training, not some kind of magic trick. Understand the structure, anticipate the traps.
And turn it from something scary into just a predictable challenge you're ready for.
Okay, so we talked about part 4 being the toughest, that long academic lecture. And we mentioned using short notes for simpler things like NZ teacher. But part 4 throws complex terms at you, like photosynthesis or biodiversity. You can't write those out quickly. So here's something to think about. What instant, maybe nonverbal symbol or abbreviation could you create right now, just for yourself, to capture a concept like photosynthesis? Something you could scribble down in a fraction of a second and know what it meant later. How could you build your own personal shorthand for those tricky part 4 topics? Something to mull over as you do your listening practice.